Today, we're going to dig into something that's pretty fundamental to, well, all of us farming. We're going to follow the entire journey, step by step, to see how a single tiny seed becomes the food that ends up on our tables.
I mean, seriously, have you ever really thought about it? We eat every single day, but behind every bite of food, there's this incredible, ancient process. It's this amazing mix of tradition, a ton of hard work, and some really cool modern science. Let's see how it all works.
So we've broken this whole thing down into 5 main stages. We'll start with the absolute basics, then get into preparing the soil, nurturing the plants, bringing in the harvest, and finally we'll take a look at what the future of farming might hold.
Okay, first things first. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. What do we even mean when we talk about crop production? Well, it all falls under the bigger umbrella of agriculture.
Agriculture is basically the foundation of civilization as we know it. I mean, think about it. Around 10,000 BCE, our ancestors went from being nomadic hunter-gatherers to settling down and farming. That one shift is what made villages, and then cities, and pretty much everything about modern life possible. It's the original, and you could argue, the most important industry in human history. What's really cool is how farming is just so tied to the rhythm of the seasons. If you look at a place like India, for example, you can see how crops fall into 3 main groups. You've got your kharif crops like rice and corn, which get planted right before the monsoon. Then come the rabi crops like wheat, which grow in the winter. And squeezed in between is a short summer season for zaid crops, think watermelons and cucumbers. It's this beautiful system that's totally dictated by nature.
Okay, with the basics covered, it's time to get our hands dirty. The very first active thing a farmer has to do is prepare the field. And this is so much more than just clearing some space. It's about creating the absolute perfect home for a seed to sprout and grow.
So, laying the groundwork really comes down to 3 crucial steps. First, you've got to get the soil ready. Then, you have to pick the absolute best seeds you can find. And finally, you sow them. Every step is critical. If you mess up one, it can impact the entire harvest down the line.
Plowing is that first big job. It's all about loosening and turning over the soil. And just look at the difference between the old way, with a wooden plow pulled by animals, and the modern tractor with a cultivator. It's a perfect snapshot of how farming tech has evolved. Both get the same job done. They get air into the soil, pull out weeds, mix in nutrients. But the cultivator does it way, way more efficiently. It's a massive time and labor saver. Of course, you could have the greatest soil on earth, but it's not going to matter if you plant duds. So how do you know which seeds are good? Well, this is a pretty classic and clever trick, the float test. It's just simple physics, right? The healthy, good seeds are dense, so they sink. The damaged, hollow ones are lighter, so they float right to the top. It's a super simple but really effective way to do quality control right there on the farm. So you've got your good seeds, now you got to get them in the ground. The old school way is called broadcasting. You're literally just scattering them by hand. It works, but it's a bit of a gamble. You get clumps of seeds in one spot and none in another. The modern way? The seed drill. This thing is amazing. It plants each seed at a perfect distance and depth, and then it even covers them back up with soil so birds can't get to them. Way less waste and a much better start for every single plant. Okay, seeds are in the ground. The farmer's job is done, right? Not even close. In fact, the really hard work is just getting started. This next phase is all about nurturing those tiny seedlings and helping them grow into strong, productive plants. So, plants need water, obviously, but you can't always count on rain. That's where irrigation comes in. The traditional methods were really ingenious for their time, but they wasted a lot of water. Modern systems, especially things like drip irrigation, are absolute game changers. They deliver water 1 drop at a time, right to the roots of the plant. It's unbelievably efficient, and in a world where water is getting more and more scarce, this isn't just a smart way to farm, it's essential. Next up, plant food. Farmers have 2 main options to enrich the soil: manure or fertilizers. Manure is the all-natural option. It's great for soil health because it adds humus, which is that dark organic stuff that helps soil hold on to water. Fertilizers, on the other hand, are man-made in a factory. They are packed with specific nutrients and can get you incredible results. But if you use too much, you can actually damage the soil and pollute nearby water, so it's a real balancing act. And, it's not just the crops that love all this water and food. Weeds do too. These unwanted plants pop up and start a battle for resources. They're trying to steal sunlight, water, and all those good nutrients from the actual crop. If you let them go, they can seriously hurt your final yield. So weeding is this constant fight the farmer has to wage all season long. So, after months of preparing, planting, and protecting, the moment of truth finally arrives. This is it, the payoff for all that hard work. It's time to reap the rewards. It's harvest time.
This final stage really breaks down into 4 main jobs. You've got harvesting, then threshing, then winnowing, and finally, the super important step of storing everything properly so it doesn't go to waste.
Let's break that down real quick. Harvesting is just what it sounds like, cutting the mature crop. Threshing is the process of separating the valuable grain from the stalk, which is also called chaff. And then winnowing uses wind to blow away that lightweight chaff, leaving you with just the heavy grain. And what's wild is that a modern combine harvester does all 3 of those things at the same time.
You know, this really drives home the point that harvesting isn't just some mechanical chore, it's a huge cultural event. All around the world, and especially across India, the end of the harvest is a time for massive celebration. Festivals like Pongal and Baisakhi, they're all about celebrating a successful season and being thankful for what the earth has provided.
But the job isn't over yet. You have to protect that harvest. The first step is to dry the grains in the sun to get the moisture out, which stops mold and bacteria from growing. On a small scale, farmers might store them in jute bags, sometimes with dried neem leaves thrown in, which is a natural bug repellent. On a large, commercial scale, the grain goes into enormous climate-controlled silos to keep it safe for months or even years.
So that's the whole journey, from a single seed all the way to a silo full of grain. But here's the thing, farming is never static. It is always evolving to face new challenges. And the biggest one we're all facing is how to feed a planet with more and more people.
To do this sustainably, farmers have developed some incredibly smart techniques that work with nature, not against it. Take crop rotation. A farmer might plant wheat, which uses up a lot of nitrogen in the soil. The next year, they'll plant something like peas, which actually puts nitrogen back into the soil. It's brilliant. Or mixed cultivation, where they plant 2 crops together because one helps the other grow. These are low-tech but super smart ways to keep farms productive.
But one of the biggest leaps in farming history was definitely the Green Revolution back in the 50s and 60s. Scientists like Norman Borlaug and M.S. Swaminathan introduced a whole package of new ideas, special high-yield seeds, chemical fertilizers, and modern irrigation all rolled into one. And the impact? It was world-changing. This revolution is credited with saving more than 1 billion people from starving. It was a total game changer for the global food supply. And of course, let's not forget that farming isn't just about plants. The other side of the coin is animal husbandry, raising animals on a large scale for things like milk, meat, and eggs. This is a huge piece of the puzzle, providing essential protein to billions of people around the globe. And that brings us to the big final question. The first agricultural revolution let us build cities. The Green Revolution helped us feed a booming population. But now, with even more people on the planet and a changing climate, we're going to need another giant leap forward. So, what will that next revolution look like? Is it going to be driven by genetics, by AI and robots, or by something we haven't even thought of yet? That's the question that will shape the future of food for everyone. Thanks for joining me.